Hi, welcome to First Church of Religious Science here in New York City. Welcome to our Thursday evening gathering of inspiration and spiritual exploration. Tonight it's our Louise Hay class. We're happy to see one another, to connect with like-minded people from all over the world. We meet on Wednesdays also for our Creative Living series, which is facilitated by James, our office administrator and practitioner. So it's the same Zoom link to join us for Thursday, Wednesday, and Sunday morning at 10:45. So everyone's welcome. This evening, we're always gathering to do our self-esteem, self-love work based upon Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life. Louise herself, as many of you know, I think most of you know, is somewhat of a cherished person here in New York in particular, because this is where she got her education at First Church. She took classes with Raymond Charles Barker and Stuart Grayson, I believe. And before we get into tonight's theme, which is saying yes to life, which is comes from one of Louise Hay's writings, I want to warmly welcome everybody who's signing in even now. As the board is lighting up, people are signing into the Zoom call. I hope everybody's had a rewarding week this week. I want to extend a special welcome to anybody who's new. There will be a time at the end of our gathering for people to share, so if you can, say hello and let us welcome you. For those of you, and that's for those of you joining us for the first time. And I want to welcome the rest of you, the people who regularly tune in, who support the center, and all the energy and love you bring into the sharing makes the lessons extra special. Your participation, your energy, really has enriched our gathering with all kinds of perspectives, but always your warmth. And we get all kinds of letters, complimenting, well, us, Jimmy and I, but it's all of you. So it's a wonderful experience. Everybody's here to learn and grow. I had a teacher who used to say, we're here to stretch and grow. And he used to say, life is like a school. You're here to learn. And he said, hopefully we'll always have an openness where we want to learn. He said, that's what makes life interesting. And yeah, we'll feel stretched sometimes because we're going to be continually being exposed to what's new. And that's what ultimately makes life interesting. I know there's a tendency to want to hang on to everything, have it be the way it always has been, but that's not the way life really operates. The philosophers I've studied in my schooling would say the only constant is change. And one of them was a pre-Socratic Heraclitus who said you can't stand in the same river twice, meaning it's never going to be the same. But we can live in appreciation, and we can live knowing that we're supplied and supported, and that we live and we move and we have our being in this divine substance. We're all a part of it, and it's in us, operating through us, and it responds to us. So First Church is doing important work by keeping this message alive, and it's now reaching people in different continents, and who would have ever known or thought? These are the benefits of COVID, post-COVID, but we're thrilled that we can be together the way we are. And we're thrilled that other people can receive our messages and now listen to them 24 hours a day on Facebook and YouTube. And that's just a whole nother family that's developing around what we do here. So thank you, everybody. That's all I can say for all your messages, all your support letters. Some of you send in checks, you send cards, you send everything. And then we get pages of comments from social media that Jimmy prints up and we go over. So I don't know, how to thank you other than just say it's all appreciated. Our virtual gatherings are offered for free, meaning there's no charge. It's a love offering presentation. Some of you do support the center, and for those of you who would like to, in the Zoom call on the side, there's a chat box. You all chat in it. We post several times throughout every broadcast, options for those of you who feel moved that you want to support the center. There's different ways you can. So if you feel moved to do it, we're glad to receive. But don't feel obligated. So we're really just thrilled you're here and you're getting something out of the teaching. So tonight we come together on Zoom. We want to extend a special welcome to those of you who are listening this week on Facebook, X, YouTube. And I would wish, any of you who are watching us on these oddball hours, if you ever are able to be with us in the same time zone, just send us a note, your email or text message or something, and so we can invite you into our actual Zoom call. And that way you can interact and listen to everyone's wonderful sharing. So if you're watching again on any of these platforms, again, send us a message so we can have your contact information. We'll send out a single weekly e-letter with everything you need to know. And you'll get some spiritual gems in it also. So this particular class is entitled The Healing Power of Yes. And I want to start out with, there's a little poem I put together. It's about Stuart Grayson. Let me give you the story quickly. The founding minister here was Raymond Charles Barker. He was quite renowned for all of his books, and he was a very colorful character in every sense of the word. The second minister was a different type of person. He was more intellectual, and many of you know many of you have heard him before. What you might not know about Stuart is he was a very sickly child, and he was raised by doctors, and he had tutors. He didn't go to school as a regular kid would. So here's a little poem, and it'll all make sense to you by the time we're done. And so here it starts out: in a world where no often echoes, one word holds the key, a simple yet powerful, vibrant yes, to set our spirits free. From a young heart's bold decision to paths of health we tread, yes lights the journey forward where fears and doubts are shed. A tale of transformation, not told but lived with zest, reminds us of the power within our own quest. So let's embrace this moment with open hearts and open minds, for in the power of yes, our brightest path unwinds. I say that because it really is, this is a Louise Hay class, but she and he shared this message, and you'll see why. So I went ahead of myself for a moment. So this class is a testament to the power of our shared vision and collective efforts, the healing power of yes. Let's remember the foundation from which First Church stands. This educational teaching of Ernest Holmes, Raymond Charles Barker, Louise Hay, Stuart Grayson, this is the place where countless journeys of healing and growth began. We've got a lot of really wonderful students here over its long history. And this evening we add our own stories to this rich tapestry, because we will share our own at the end. So to everyone both seen and unseen on the call, near and far, and for those of you listening this week, welcome to our self-healing class. So let's embark on this journey, saying yes to life, yes to love, and yes to the endless possibilities that are really here available for us. I've already read the poem about in a world where no often echoes, one word holds the key, a simple, powerful, vibrant yes to set our spirits free. So let's say yes to life. I'm not going to read the poem again, but we're going to say yes to life. As I mentioned, we've had many well-known students coming through First Church over the years. Louise Hay was probably the most famous. She had to have been. But there's been a lot of well-known people. She wrote the book, You Can Heal Your Life. Today's gathering is about the healing power of yes, saying yes to life. Louise was, as I said before, probably our most famous student. I've been a student of her book since it came out. I believe it came out in 1986, and I'm sure I got my hands on it within a year. It was published in 1884. So You Can Heal Your Life has been sold. It's gone around the world in 28 languages. We think 100 million people have read it. 65 million have purchased it. The good it's done is tough to calculate. It's because when you get somebody like one of you or myself, where this book starts to mean so much to us and we start to incorporate its teaching into our consciousness, we touch people and we all touch people. And, so there's a tremendous amount of healing that's taken place through her work. And her work is the work of religious science. It's the work of new thought. After I first had that book and that material given to me, I was in a class, and shortly thereafter, the teacher had to move to another city, and I was asked if I would facilitate the group. So this is 30, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years later at least. And I said yes, not knowing, I didn't think of myself as a group facilitator, but I loved the work. I loved what she was saying. So this work has been working for me now for 30 plus years, and I've seen it help people everywhere. Every kind of people you can imagine. Women, men, children, young adults, people in trouble, people who are not in trouble. I've just seen it, just what it can do with health and wealth and self-expression and self-esteem. Whatever it is, this material seems to really help people tremendously. Louise Hay had many affirmations that were really powerful and worked very well. An affirmation, let me start out by saying, is not what we call an affirmative prayer necessarily, nor it's not a treatment. But it's really a great beginning. It's a beginning place. I know that's what it was for me. I have a few examples for anyone who's new of what an affirmation is. The first is, I am open to the flow of the great abundance in all areas of my life. So if you're experiencing some place where you feel like you don't have enough of anything, like it could be love or money or whatever it is, a good affirmation is, I am open to the flow of great abundance in all areas of my life. And if you're struggling in some area of your life and you're not happy and you don't feel like you're loved, or you're just, things aren't working to your liking, an affirmation I chose is, I choose to fill my world with joy and love. That could be one you might use. I choose to fill my world with joy and love. I remember when I was in my later 20s, for a year, I was working all kinds of crazy jobs. And one I was using was, this is God in my life. And you might say, what does he mean? Whatever was going on in my life, no matter how crazy it seemed to be, I would say, this is God in my life. I was training myself to see that there is this energy at play in everything and in everyone and all the time. This is God in my life. That's certainly better for me than thinking, oh, this is terrible, that's terrible, everything's terrible, and poor me, and ain't it awful. I was training myself to see that this is God in my life. Because our teaching tells us that we live, move, and have our being in this divine substance. Think about that. I live, move, and have my being in this divine substance. It means that's all that there is. So what we're attempting to do in this teaching in metaphysics and with Louise Hay is to start to connect with the inner truth. We're one with the one, and start to realize everything we're seeing is a reflection of this divine activity. So you might like that one that I used for so many years. This is God in my life, or this is Source in my life. The next affirmation I chose for this evening is, I'm worthy of the very best in life and I lovingly allow myself to accept it. And I chose that one because Louise was often saying the bottom line for everyone she worked with is they don't feel like they're good enough. So this is one. I am worthy of the very best in life, and I lovingly allow myself to accept it. And the next, all is well in my world, and I am safe. I've heard that one many times. All is well in my world, and I am safe. I've got two more. The next one is every experience I have is perfect for my growth. So no matter what you're going through, that's kind of like me with this is God in my life. This one's very similar. Every experience I have in my life is perfect for my growth. And the sixth one is I love, accept, and approve of myself exactly as I am. Now that's one I've used for many years, and I've used it and taught it and presented it in many classes. I love, accept, and approve of myself exactly as I am. I release the need to criticize myself. I love myself the way I am. I love the world the way it is. This is to start shifting our perspective from what's wrong and what's missing in the world and what's wrong and what's missing in us. I've been using affirmations for all these years, and I could see how they were changing my life. I could see how they're changing my experience. If you really begin to use them a lot, you're going to notice there's a shift in your consciousness. So affirmations, especially when you get passionate about them, when you take them into your consciousness and you can feel them in your body, they're going to produce results in your life. You'll start to notice that they say a shift in mind will happen. And then you're going to start to see some demonstrations. We can teach you formally how to do affirmative prayer, and we do. But I'll say this, if you practice using affirmations and you bring your affirmations to belief, you're going to wind up seeing demonstrations in your life as well. Something I haven't known, I didn't know for the past 20, 30 years, something I learned just relatively recently, was that affirmations actually play an important role in laying tracks in your brain, rewiring, if you will, your brain, your neural pathways. So I'll repeat that one. I've been learning that these repeated affirmations serve as a powerful tool for shaping our minds and then our lives. You know, thoughts are things, and so if you're going to keep on thinking a positive thought, you're going to be like rewiring your brain in a very good way. In the same way, if there's old beliefs that you harbor that are harmful, they bring forth dis-ease and discomfort and unhappiness and misery. So this is really good news. I knew that affirmative prayer worked. I could see it. I've seen it work. I've seen it heal people. But I'm learning affirmations in themselves are creating strong neural pathways. So it's definitely worth spending some time working with your affirmations. So I did a class in that not long ago. You can refer to it, but I wanted to mention it tonight. Simply put, neuroplasticity is our brain's ability to adapt and change. And we can do it even as older adults. So I didn't know if it was just when you're kids. You can do this any age, any time. The thing is, you want to be consistently repeating the positive affirmations. And as we do, we're essentially training our brains to think differently. As metaphysicians, we knew it anyway. Our thoughts are things. The universe responds to our thinking, our consciousness. But now the science backs it up as well. So we want to consistently repeat these positive affirmations. The whole world out there leans towards negativity, but you don't have to be the whole world. You're the author of your own experience. You're the captain of your own ship. You're the person who's writing your own script for your own life. So if you want to have a better life, certainly you can have one. The point of power is in the present moment, and you can do this. So as you do it, you're going to be forming new neural pathways that align with your heart's desires. So each time we affirm our worth and our value, our strength, the things we want, our potential, we're not just speaking empty words, we're actually reshaping our thoughts and our beliefs. It's a beautiful beginning to our journey of self-discovery and transformation. So starting here, starting now, you do it one day at a time, 1 hour at a time. In one of my Louise Hay lectures, I heard Louise encourage everyone to say yes to life. And I said, of course. And I'm going to say it again tonight. Say yes to life. Say yes to every good thing. Say yes to every opportunity, every compliment. Yes to healing. Yes to good wherever you see good. I was told when I was younger that we're here to be cheerleaders, those of us in the teaching. We're here to say good job, and get in the habit of acknowledging and seeing the good. Say yes to life wherever you see it. It costs you nothing. It's really good for you. Edwina Gaines was the prosperity teacher who was always talking about seeing the God in the good, and she would do it with everything. Everything was a blessing. And I used to think it sounded crazy, but it was, eventually I started to understand how wise these people were. Misery is optional. Suffering is not God ordained. There's a lot of people who suffer. There's a lot of people who are miserable. And a lot of times they're in a track or a tape, that's just going round and round and round. I had a student years ago who said they're all looping. So what do you mean looping? He said they're on a track. It's just a negative track, and they need to release it. And so we say it in different ways, but you understand the idea. So let's bring a Louise Hay into our consciousness and say yes to everything. Realize that we who practice this teaching are the people who are here to cheer everyone on. We're here to cheer ourselves on, to love ourselves the way we are, and we're here to cheer everyone else on too. We have a basic metaphysical understanding that everybody is a part of this unitary field of energy. Now that's a fancy way of saying that this thing is a presence that's in everyone all the time. It's unfolding. This love, this divine energy is unfolding in me and in you and everyone all the time. So why would I judge it? Why would I judge myself or anyone else? Because everyone is doing the best they can. They're unfolding, they're learning their lessons. We're not here to judge anybody. We're here to love, accept, and approve of ourselves exactly as we are. And we're here to extend that love and that approval to the world. We're here to love the world the way it is, knowing everything is in divine order and unfolding as in perfect time, perfect place. So let's say yes to life, yes to every opportunity, yes to kindness, yes to any good you see anywhere, and say yes, thank you. Because gratitude is causative, so it's always good to say, thank you, or I'm grateful for. And of course, if that's your practice, you would then be, if you were saying yes to all these good things, then you would begin to know more and more that you're worthy of the things you desire. And that's what we're talking about in this class. You are one with all good. I already explained it. You are one with the one. There's nothing that's holding you back except for the things you tell yourself. You can experience and have a happier life, a life of greater freedom, greater peace and success. I think I know where Louise Hay got that expression now. I told you about Stuart Grayson. On his wall was a large framed crocheted piece with the word yes. And I've heard people talk about that framed piece. It said yes, and it was framed. It was a large framed piece. And that was his one healing word, the word yes. I believe Dr. Grayson made a strong impression on Louise. And if it wasn't Dr. Grayson, it would have been Raymond Charles Barker, who might have had the very same crocheted piece on the wall. But I believe that's where she got it. So she said, and he said too, say yes to life, yes to life. And that was a particularly important saying to Stuart Grayson, the second pastor here. And as I led in with a little poem, Grayson had a childhood where he was sick like 90% of the time. He was fortunate to have a doctor for a dad, but all of his education came from tutors and most of the time in bed. He was a very sickly child. He was educated by tutors. He could never be at school for very long. So the information that's been passed down to me over the years was he wasn't well most of the time. He was very sick until he was about 15 years old. The things about him though, he was around smart people, 3 doctors, as I recall this story, and other people, and he was very curious about everything. So he had lots of questions, and he had questions about health and healing. So he got pretty good at learning what all the medical people had to say. But he wasn't really getting better. He was interested in healing, and sometime around his 15th birthday, as I've been told the story, and I've read it also, I heard that he made a decision around his 15th birthday that he wasn't going to do the medical stuff anymore. So he had this framed, as he's an adult, he had that framed piece of needlework saying yes, that everyone was talking about. And that's why this word had a lot of meaning to him. It's very likely that Louise Hay oftentimes looked at it too, as did everybody else that was in the vicinity. She would have been hearing Dr. Grayson and Dr. Barker talking about it too. Dr. Grayson, as I said, from a young child, was learning what he had to do, what he could do himself to maintain his health. When he was a child, he knew all the rules, he knew what caused diseases and all of that stuff from his father. And as I mentioned, he had several doctors, and he came to the point where he didn't think the medication was really doing him any good. So when he got to be near his 15th birthday, he had either a breakthrough or a breakdown. And I don't know if it was his anger or his frustration, but it got to a point where he just didn't want to do it that way anymore. And you can almost imagine yourself where you're getting sick and tired of being sick and tired and saying, I'm done with this. And he got to the point where he started working with self-healing. He got crystal clear. And I think that's a point that all of us can relate to, where you've been through a tough time or relationship or illness or something, where you're standing at a turning point. And whatever day it was near that birthday, 15th birthday, he made a very big decision. He made a decision that he was going to take charge of his life, and it was going to go one way or another, but he wasn't going to stay in bed and stay sick. He started making his own decisions rather than listening to the adults, the doctors. Again, he was a smart kid. He was listening to intelligent people for many years. He wasn't upset with them, but he wasn't going to do it that way anymore. He noted that they contradicted each other. He noted that the medicine sometimes was making him sick. So he started making decisions that were very unexpected. And he was going within, and he was trusting himself. And this is where his healing journey really started. So I think that happens for a lot of us. We get to a point where we start making some decisions for ourselves. Not because of our husband, our children, or someone else. We make the decisions for ourselves. And hopefully after we've gone within, because Spirit's always there guiding you. So if you're in New Thought, and you're in this teaching, we're going to help you get clearer very quickly. Because every week we're going to be telling you that you're one with the One, you're one with life, you're one with Spirit, and that you have within you everything you need to inform you. And that, the universe is supporting you 24 hours a day, all the time. There needs to be a point in your life where you make a decision to go in a direction towards healing and health. And that sounds scary. It's really very incredible, because if you've been having a rough life or a rough time, we're going to tell you in this class every week that you can heal your life. We're going to tell you every week that misery is optional and that suffering is not God ordained. We're going to tell you every week that you can turn it around. It may not work out exactly the way you want it to, but as you begin to work with life and trust the process of life, as Louise Hay would say, and say yes to life, great things are going to start to happen. In religious science and with the work that Louise Hay did in self-healing, we get to a place where we say, okay, my life is going to play out the way it's always played out unless I take charge of it. Ernest Holmes was encouraging us to step up on the image he was using was a stagecoach. Instead of being in the comfort zone of the coach, step out on the platform and take the reins. There's power for good in the universe in my life, and I can use it. So we get to a place in this teaching where we realize, oh my goodness, I'm creating my life, and it's a mess. I don't like the way it is. Louise Hay would say, it's like cleaning a house. Then you make a decision. I'm going to start working in this area, and in one thought at a time, one room at a time, whatever analogy you want to use, things will start to improve. And like Stuart Grayson, you'll have a breakthrough. You just have to stay at it. Don't quit before the miracle happens. Please don't be one of the folks that just tune in one week and we see you again like 6 months later. We'll be happy to see you, but stay with it. Keep at it. My British friends would say, stay the course. And if you do, like Stuart Grayson, you'll have a breakthrough because you're putting a demand on consciousness for something better and something more. Stuart Grayson, the second pastor, had a breakthrough. He made a very powerful decision that he was going to take charge of his life and say yes to life. He had that big crocheted piece in his office. Yes, to remind himself every day, yes to life, to lift himself up every day and lift others. This is a turning point for each of us in this teaching when we get to this place where you basically say, okay, I've had it. I release the need for it. Whatever it is, I release the need for it. I intend to flourish and go forward. It's you that has to take charge of your life. You can heal your life. Louise didn't say, I can heal your life. She said, you can heal your life. And you will by saying yes to life and knowing that you live, move, and have your being in this energy that responds to you because it has to respond to you. And when you get in that place and you're in the driver's seat where you're starting to practice the teaching and say to yourself, this is God in my life, I am supplied and supported. Use your affirmations, create new neural pathways. And when you get there, healing after healing start to happen in your life. You'll have demonstrations because the kingdom of good is at hand. It always has been there. You don't see it there because your mindset, your mentality is not there to see it. But we want to open that up. And you don't really have to do hard work. The thing is, showing up is a great deal of it. Just show up and let us remind you of how wonderful you are, the power you have, the ability you have, and have us keep on telling you that all is working out, because it is. Everything's unfolding in divine order. In the Grayson story, with the power of his strong decision, he almost immediately began to improve. His father and the other doctors were concerned initially, but they saw such a transformation in 6 or 8 months, they couldn't even put words to it because they were invested in taking care of a sick person. Grayson had already decided that he was going to heal his life. He knew the things that he was supposed to do, the common sense things. He was smart, but he also knew the X factor was that he had to start practicing and start taking action and believing that he could heal his life. He decided to take charge of his life and to deal directly with the things that were in his life rather than acting like he was sick all the time. And because of this decision, that became his journey into self-healing. And for most people, self-healing is a journey. It's a journey that brings us to where we are this evening, all of us. Because this teaching reminds people that we are the authors of our own experience. We create our life. And we know that life is saying yes to us. It has to. It's what it does. And I don't know how to amplify that message enough because it took me a long time to understand it myself. Life is saying yes to me. And by that I mean, whatever I ruminate on all day long, good or bad, it says yes to it. Whatever I'm focused on, it goes round and round and round within me. Life says yes to it. If you remember the movie The Secret, the genie in the sky said, your wish is my command. That's kind of the way an easy way to explain. Life is saying yes to what you really believe. So let your thoughts be on high. Hitch your wagons to the stars. Let your visions be big, and let life say yes to it. Know that you're supplied and supported. Know that you're valuable. Know that you're one with the one. Slow down, take that pause where you're going to make a decision about something that's important to you, where we choose which voice or which voices to listen to. Do you want to continue to listen to the limiting voices of doubt and fear? Or I would hope you'd want to listen to the empowering voices that urge you to say yes to new opportunities, and the voices that allow you to dream a little bit bigger, and the voices that will say, I choose health, or I choose to love, I choose to forgive. This choice to embrace life's potential is saying yes to life, saying yes to healing. It's a truth that's been echoed by all the teachers I've mentioned: Stuart Grayson, Louise, Raymond Charles Barker, Wade Adkisson, myself. And it's a principle that continues to guide us each and every week here. It's a healing idea, a healing principle that we've come to understand. And we understand that it's an inside job. The healing's never going to come from anyone outside of you. You have everything you need. You come fully equipped. You're the whole bit. You have it all within you. So you're standing on holy ground, and our job every week is to keep reminding you of how great you are, and you have all the power you need. It begins and ends with us. It begins and ends with our beliefs and our consciousness. So we want to build up our consciousness, we want to have our consciousness be unified, and we want to be connected with Source. Know that we're one with the One, and know that all of life is for us. Our willingness to let go of our old stories is really important. Our willingness to let go of grievances, let go of all the stuff that might have been important at some point in our life that's no longer important. And now, having let go of all of that, we want to have the willingness to embrace the new, embrace whatever is life affirming. Trading in the lesser ideas or the lesser beliefs for the greater that I always speak about, and focusing on what's right and good for you and for your life. What's the most self-loving thing for you to do? Louise Hay would always say, love the self, nurture the self. Nurture gratitude for the present moment. In this process of saying yes to life, we're not just passive recipients, we're active participants. All of us are shaping our experiences through our thoughts, our thinking. If you have a lot of negative thinking, you hear me say every week, sinking thinking, negative thinking, the sky is falling, poor me, you're just bringing a lot of stuff to you that I know you don't want. So let's release the need for the negatives and release the need for using the word should and the critical thinking. And let's start affirming life, saying, I deserve this. I deserve a great life. I say yes to life. By focusing on our strengths, and we all have strengths, by focusing on the beauty that's everywhere present. And you all can see the beauty that's everywhere present because that's what you're learning to do, is to see and understand that this is spirit in your life. Every encounter is a holy encounter. You are one with the One, and you're meeting spirit in every interaction with every person every day. So having that consciousness of knowing that life is good, you become a lifter. You're lifting yourself up, you're lifting other people up. And then you're going to start to see the beauty of the present and the possibilities that are right here in front of you. What lies ahead? We're going to be opening ourselves up to a life of abundance and fulfillment, contentment, peace, and joy as we practice this teaching. Let's remind ourselves of the power of yes. It's not just about agreeing with everything without thinking. It's about aligning ourselves, again, with the positive and the constructive and the healing aspects of life. It's about seeing the good that's already here and opening ourselves up to even more. It's a practice We keep practicing, we connect, we keep practicing seeing the good, the God, and most of all, a choice to live fully, to love more deeply, and to grow endlessly. We're always growing. So we continue on this path. As we continue on this path, let's remember that every yes we utter is a step toward a richer, more vibrant life. And it's a declaration of our willingness to be part of the flow of abundance, love, and healing that's all around us. Not just in our words, but it's in our hearts and our actions. As we love ourselves, as we support one another in this shared journey of transformation and growth. So let's all say yes to life. Let me do a quick closing affirmative prayer on the subject for us all. I'll say it in the first person. I recognize there is one universal source, one love, one source of wisdom. This source is the foundation of everything that exists. It's endlessly generous and infinitely intelligent. I affirm that we are all intimately connected with this divine source, each of us a unique expression of its infinite potential. Our very essence is made of this same substance as the universe, and that means it makes us worthy, loved, and supported. Today, I affirm on behalf of all of us on this extended call our wholehearted yes to life. We embrace opportunities with open arms, we trust in the flow of divine abundance, and we affirm our readiness to receive all the blessings that life has to offer. I declare this openness to healing, to growth, to wholeness, and the realization of our deepest desires. With hearts full of gratitude, I give thanks for the moment of recognition and the endless gifts of the universe. I'm thankful for the strength to say yes to life, for the courage to embrace our true potential, and for the love that surrounds us all. I release this word into the law, knowing it's done. As I say, it's already done. With confidence and joy, I let go, allowing the universe to do its work, its magic in ways beyond our imagination. And so it is. And now I'm turning the microphone over to you. Let's open the floor to share our experiences, the ways we've embraced life's opportunities, and the growth that we've witnessed in ourselves. See you in just a moment.